Join me as we revisit the best albums of 1980. Hey guys and gals, welcome. It's Hannah, the Omaha Introvert once again, and we are entering what may be my favorite decade of music, and that is the 1980s. You got new wave, synth pop, jangle pop, college rock, garage rock revival, Paisley Underground, punk, post-punk, shoegaze. All stopped there, but it all happened in the 80s. So today I am showing you my favorite albums from the year 1980, and I'm only showing you what I have in my personal collection. Of course, I'm going to be missing many. If you're new here, my music taste is more on the alternative, power pop, and punk side of music. I won't be really showing any metal or hard rock albums, if any, so just keep that in mind. But that's what you guys are here for, because I like when you get involved. Feel free to provide your own favorite albums list from 1980 down in the comment section below. I love to start a discussion with you. Okay, here we go. These are in no particular order, by the way. So first of all, I want to clear up something. In my last 1979 video, I showed this record, and my copy actually says 1979 on the back, and it is printed on the back here. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if it's going to come through, but I was just basing my list off of what I saw on the back cover. 1980 is the year this debut was released. So, correction, this Cramps record, Songs the Lord Taught Us, was actually released in 1980. Okay, Pretenders. Depending on what country you reside, this either came out in 1979 or 1980. I'm just gonna go with 1980 to show this. So, yeah, fiery, fierce debut record from this band. Chrissie Hynde is one of my heroes. I was lucky enough to see her open for Stevie Nicks back in 2016. Still sounds great. If I ever did like a top 10 favorite debut albums of all time, like if I ever tackled that subject, this would be on there. This is such an incredible record. You've got Precious, Tattooed Love Boys, Stop Your Sobbing, which is a Kinks cover, and of course Brass in Pocket. Every track is incredible. I never skip a track on this. I also have this on CD and I play it in my car quite frequently, so you need this. Next we have X, which, yes, I am sporting my X t-shirt just for this video, and their debut album, Los Angeles. This was a band I was really obsessed with in my early college years, which would have been the early 2000s. One of the best punk debuts out there. And what makes X so unique is the vocal interplay between John Doe and Exene Cervenka. Kind of interesting harmonies, like not the typical way you would hear a band harmonize together. So that kind of kept me listening to all the records. Billy Zoom, the guitarist, he really adds a lot of like Chuck Berry 50s influence style guitar licks, and I really like that aspect about this band as well. This album still sounds fresh to this day. I can't recommend this album enough. X Los Angeles. Okay, next we have some post-punk and goth tunes with The Cure's second album, 17 Seconds. There's a new lineup on this record, and actually they added a new keyboardist. It's very atmospheric. I love the songs A Forest as well as At Night. Just a brilliant album. They really reinvented themselves here. Next we have Squeeze and their album Argy Bargy. This is new wave pop brilliance from Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford. Bit of a quirky and nerdy record. I really enjoy this one out of their catalog. If you like Elvis Costello, XTC, maybe Split Enz, then you're probably gonna dig this band a lot. I really love the first two tracks on this album, Pulling Muscles from the Shell and Another Nail in My Heart. So check out Squeeze, Argy Bargy, 1980. You guys, much bigger stack for 1980, just to let you know. This is probably going to be a longer video. Next we have Billy Joel and his album Glass Houses, and I don't talk about Billy Joel too much on my channel, but I have quite a few of his albums. He's been a favorite of mine for a while. I saw him live probably 15-20 years ago with my mom. Just put on an outstanding show. Several hits he had on here, like You May Be Right, Don't ask me why, it's still rock and roll to me. My favorite song on here, however, is All for Lena. Just something about that song. I fell in love with it the first time I heard it. This is actually considered his punk record, which is really odd and bizarre to say. But I guess they mean it has a little more attitude and more of an edge for Billy Joel, like as much as he can have an edge, I guess. So yeah, this is a good album from Billy Joel. Joan Jett and her first solo album, Bad Reputation. Joan Jett, she's a badass. She was influenced by Pete Townshend, to name one of her influences, and that's maybe one of the reasons I like her so much. But I actually didn't hear the song Bad Reputation until I saw the awesome series Freaks and Geeks in the late 90s when I was in high school. And that series only lasted like one season, I think, but I don't know, if you're kind of like a movie buff, Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jason Segel, they got their start on that show, and they just featured awesome music, classic rock through the 80s, and Bad Reputation was the theme song. So hence my love for that song and this record. This record is comprised of about 50% covers, but they're all really good covers. Tons of attitude. I mean, what she does best, right? All right, moving on to a CD. And I have a Wipers box set, so I'm going to be featuring their very first album, which is titled, hang on, let me get this situated, Is This Real? So right here. This is like grunge before there was grunge. It's like dark punk. It's very raw. Greg Sage was kind of like an underappreciated punk hero, in my opinion. Not many people talk about him or this band, and I don't really know why. But yeah, bands like Nirvana and a lot of the pre-grunge bands as well, they were heavily influenced by the Wipers. So yeah, a few songs I like on here. Mystery, Alien Boy, D7. A lot of grunge bands covered D7. This sounds like a lot more late 80s to me than early 80s. It was kind of ahead of its time. Wipers were pretty cool. So I really like this box set I have. It has their first 3 albums, and I revisit that quite frequently. What do we have next? We have Bob Marley's Uprising. I've always really enjoyed this cover art. Just look at that, amazing. So this is their last proper studio album. I really like side 2. It has some memorable tracks. Could You Be Loved and Redemption Song. Redemption Song is so powerful, right? I'm sure you've all heard that one, but also there's an amazing opening song on here, Coming In From the Cold. Sorry, I forgot to show the labels. Song Island. Bob Marley's Uprising. Another gem from 1980. Showing another CD. We got the Feelies and their first album, Crazy Rhythms. Another quirky, kind of nerdy album. Appropriate title for this album, Crazy Rhythms, because it might leave you feeling a little bit anxious. It's very playful, maybe a little bit repetitive, polyrhythmic. If you're more into like college rock, REM and the DBs, this is going to be for you. This is quite an influential record. What else do I want to say about this record? I featured it in my Jangle Pop series, so check out that whole series if you want to learn more about that subgenre. All right, next we have Empty Glass from my favorite male artist of all time. I'm a Pete fangirl, you guys know this. Some people consider this a great Lost Who album just because of how well written and strong it is from start to finish. Again, I'll keep this brief because I've talked about Pete in a whole album ranking video in the past. But his big hit was Let My Love Open the Door. If you haven't heard that by now, I'm not sure where you've been because it's been featured in so many movies. It's on classic rock radio. You're not going to skip over any songs on this album. Pete was going through a really rough time when he was writing this, but my favorite song on here, and just one of my favorite songs ever, would have to be A Little Is Enough. It's just gorgeous. It's pure poetry. The lyrics are amazing. I don't know, I get goosebumps whenever I hear that song still. So Pete Townshend's Empty Glass. The Buggles with The Age of Plastic. This is a very visionary pop record. I probably don't need to say much about it. Video Killed the Radio Star is on this record. Their claim to fame. What else do I like on here? I really like Kid Dynamo and I Love You Miss Robot. Clean Clean, that's good too. Kind of an overlooked record now. I know in the VC, the vinyl community here, people don't really bring this up too much. So Buggles, Age of Plastic. Soft Boys, Underwater Moonlight. In my opinion, this record has stood the test of time. Robyn Hitchcock is a genius, in my opinion. I'm a huge Robyn Hitchcock fan. Bizarre lyrics that are very amusing. I really like the guitar work on this album as well. Unfortunately, Matthew, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Seligman. I remember hearing that he passed away. He's the bass player, and he adds a lot to this record. But yeah, I think he passed away last year. So I found an interesting review online, and I just kind of want to read some of that quote. This person wrote, Robyn Hitchcock, the great songwriter of the neo-psychedelic age, is the missing link between the psychedelic rock of Syd Barrett, the power pop of Big Star, and the alternative rockers of the likes of REM. That really just summarizes and exemplifies Robyn Hitchcock and his band perfectly to me. So yeah, really odd, off-the-wall songs like I Want to Destroy You, I Got the Hots, Insanely Jealous, Old Pervert. I mean, this is just a great record. Okay, moving on to, I gotta get the next stack here. Devo, Freedom of Choice. I'm sure many of you know this record already. Yeah, just an excellent example of synth pop and new wave music. Whip It is on here. Come on, that's a classic. Look at this guy. I was just gonna quickly mention the other songs I like on here. Girl You Want, Freedom of Choice, obviously. Gates of Steel, and Planet Earth. So just fun. I mean, how else do you describe this record other than fun? That's what it is. Siouxsie and the Banshees with their third studio album, Kaleidoscope, and I just have this one on CD. This is actually a CD I bought when I was in college many years ago, and I just fell in love with this. This was my intro to them. This just blew me away when I first heard it. It's dark and haunting, you know, post-punk kind of goth. And Happy House, Christine, I think those were two hits from this. I like Trophy, but my favorite song on here would have to be Hybrid. I love the texture the saxophone adds to that song, makes it kind of moody. Also, the guitar on that song gets kind of creepy. This is one of my favorites from Siouxsie and the Banshees, Kaleidoscope. Ramones, End of the Century. So I actually just showed this record a few videos ago, and a video I did where I kind of talked about a collection I bought, so I'll keep this brief. If you haven't heard this record and you're like, well, what's on that? I mean, you're probably gonna recognize Rock and Roll High School just from me mentioning that title alone. Also a good cover of Baby I Love You, which I think gets kind of mixed opinions on. But End of the Century, Ramones. Psychedelic Furs giving us their debut in 1980, and the world is introduced to the sexy, gravelly voice of Richard Butler. I just love Richard Butler's voice. Some tracks sound kind of minimalistic, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion. Yeah, it's post-punk with a lot of saxophone. You'll find a lot of albums I feature do add saxophone in the early 80s. So that was, I guess, kind of the thing to do at that time. Just tons of great songs on here. India, Sister Europe. Fall is probably one of my top 2 or 3 songs on here. Imitation of Christ, Wedding Song, solid. Prince with his album Dirty Mind. This could be my favorite Prince record. Very daring and risque for the time, you know, with the subject matter and everything. Found this one, I think, in Washington at a very small record store. I was surprised to find it because I never see this record. This record just spans many genres, and Prince actually, I don't want to like put my finger in the wrong place. But yeah, Prince plays nearly every instrument on this record. Just what a visionary, what a genius, right? My only lament about this record is that it is so short. It's only 8 songs and like 30 minutes or so. When You Were Mine from that record. So good. Prince, Dirty Mind. All right, the jam with my favorite record from them, Sound Effects. I'm in love with this record, in love. All killer, no filler, as they say. This is their 5th studio album. I will go ahead and show the label. Again, I'm not very good at showing the label for this video. Polydor. Infectious pop songs. This is the jam at their best. Probably at their most catchy, too. Even from the start of the record, with their song Start. But then it goes to Pretty Green, Monday, That's Entertainment. Y'all know that song, right? Man in the Corner Shop, Boy About Town. This is, tasty. All right, Joy Division, Welcome to the Darkness, once again. With their album Closer. This is an early press that I have. Let's just show the label right there. Factory. I enjoy the opportunity to talk about Joy Division once again, and so soon, because I am a little bit obsessed with Joy Division. But this record, I believe, was released about a month after Ian Curtis's suicide. Tragic. Chaotic and brooding record. They're not a band I connected with right away, I have to admit. It took several listens. I don't remember what year was the first year I heard them, but I did not like them right away. I was like, what's the hype about this? I'm not really understanding the appeal, but they snuck up on me. They totally snuck up on me, and now, especially during the pandemic, I've gravitated toward Joy Division. Genius pair of albums we got from them. Too bad we didn't get more from them. Truly haunting and memorable record. Isolation. The first song just creeps me out, to be honest. Atrocity Exhibition. I like Heart and Soul and 24 Hours a lot as well. But yeah, had to show Closer. Since we're talking about Joy Division, I have to mention their single Love Will Tear Us Apart. Just have to. Don't say it's overrated. Don't. It's not. No way. Thank you, by the way, to Patrick, who did a trade with me, and I got this as one of the items in the trade. Really appreciate it. Yeah, one of the best singles of all time. The song, it's like, it's got an upbeat feel with the synths, but the lyrics are heartbreaking. I've heard people say that they don't care for Joy Division, but they love this song. So if you're one of those people who maybe you've heard their studio albums, but you haven't heard this song, give this song a listen and see how you feel. Are you wallowing now? Don't wallow. Get happy with Elvis Costello and the Attractions. Get happy. I believe this was produced by Nick Lowe. Yeah, Nick Lowe. So there's 20 songs on this album, but it just flies by. This is one of my favorites from him. It's got kind of an R&B Motown vibe to it. I like pretty much every single song on here. There's maybe only 2, maybe 3 that I'm not crazy about, but as a whole, this is a very strong record. Yeah, this is a really good place to start with this catalog, actually. So get it and get happy. B-52's Wild Planet. If you watched my 1979 video, you probably recall me mentioning that this is my favorite from them. I'm being totally genuine when I say that I'm so in love with this band. Dirty Back Road, Running Around, Private Idaho, Keisha Lorraine. If you're having a bad day, put on the B-52s and just, I don't know, chill. Like, enjoy life with the B-52s. Man, I wish I could have seen them live. I never had the opportunity, so one of my favorites right here. Okay, I gotta grab the next stack here. We've got Echo and the Bunnymen next with their debut Crocodiles. Yes, admittedly, this is not my favorite in their discography, but it is certainly worthy of praise. Shining example of post-punk. Let me take this off of here. Very atmospheric record with some angular guitars, and of course, Ian McCulloch's voice. That voice. Just love it. Really like Do It Clean, Monkeys, Rescue. Yeah, really enjoyable listen. And I'm a huge fan of Echo and the Bunnymen. This is on SIGH. Check that out. Bauhaus and the Flat Field. So I have this CD box set, which has 5 albums in here. So I'm featuring their first album, In the Flat Field. Peter Murphy's vocals just dominate, as well as the screeching guitars from Daniel Ash. This is probably a milestone post-punk and goth record, and I did not like this right away. It took several listens for it to grow on me. It can be a challenging listen, so just give it some time. What songs do I like off this? I like In the Flat Field, the title track, A God in an Alcove, St. Vitus Dance. Yeah, check out Bauhaus. I don't know, 1980 had a lot going for it. I certainly have a lot of albums from that year that I didn't realize I had this many. So next we have XTC's Black Sea, my favorite album from XTC, their 4th album, produced by Steve Lillywhite. It's just a big sounding, punchy record. Very consistent throughout, creative lyrics. It's just a step above, in my opinion. Brilliant record. If you want a place to start with XTC, this would not be a bad place to start. Just saying. Black Sea. Then we have my favorite punk band, The Damned, with their 4th studio album. It's just titled The Black Album. And I have 2 versions here. This is the first one I bought, and I was disappointed because it doesn't have Curtain Call on this version. It is an early press. It's on IRS. But it's missing that crucial song, and Curtain Call is like considered a masterpiece song, and it is. It's like 17 minutes. Many people consider that their best song. So, yeah, I actually have this Jurassic Plastic reissue, which contains Curtain Call. I told you I love Captain Sensible. I really like when he's in the band. But my favorite songs on here would have to be Wait for the Blackout, Silly Kids Games, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, of course Curtain Call, and History of the World Part 1. This is their album where you really start to notice the goth edge, so it brings together goth and punk. Damned's Black Album. All right, we're grabbing one of the final stacks here, the final stack. We're going to Power Pop with Phil Seymour, and this is his self-titled record. I like the front cover and the back cover. So you'll know Phil Seymour because he collaborated with Dwight Twilley in the Dwight Twilley Band. This is a good power pop LP you can get on the cheap. You're going to be able to find this pretty cheap. It's on the Boardwalk Entertainment Company. I think that's the first record I've seen with that label in my collection. Anyway, my favorite songs. Precious to Me, Baby It's You. Yeah, I really like those 2 especially. Lots of hooks, jangly guitars. If you're a power pop fan like me, you need to give Phil Seymour a listen. Next we have Magazine, and I guess I got this just in time because I got this a week or 2 ago from eBay. It's one of my eBay acquisitions that I found for a really good price. And it is The Correct Use of Soap, which is, I think this is their 3rd studio album, if I remember correctly. I've just been on a listening tear with Magazine. Howard Devoto, I don't know, I'm just kind of drawn to his voice and his music, so I have more Magazine and related stuff to show down the road, probably in my next finds video, which will be after this video. Yeah, definitely more energy on this record compared to Secondhand Daylight, which is the one that came out in 1979. It's post-punk, new wave. I just keep coming back to this one. Love this one in their catalog. Because You're Frightened, love that. Love Philadelphia, Stuck, and A Song from Under the Floorboards. That's an incredible track. So yeah, check out Magazine and The Correct Use of Soap. It's important to use soap correctly. All right, next we have Utopia and their album deface the music. Thank you to Anthony Bernard who sent me this recently, and it is a new reissue from Music on Vinyl. Gray vinyl, in fact. So this is their Beatlemania record. No, really. It's Todd Rundgren's tribute, I guess, to the Beatles. These songs sound like the Beatles. I'm being totally serious about that, but with kind of an 80s feel. I actually like it. Todd Rundgren's Utopia. All right, I need to go a little bit quicker because look at the time. All right, the Romantics. Gotta bring this one up. Band from Detroit, killer power pop. What I Like About You, Tell It to Carrie. Yeah, one of the best power pop debuts of all time. Not necessarily super original, but very enjoyable. Another power pop classic, The Records Crashes. This is their follow-up to the debut that I featured in 1979. Again, they're kind of coined the British big star, but Girl in Golden Disc, Hearts in Her Eyes. My uncle introduced me to this band, so thank you, Uncle Jim, if you're watching. Really appreciate the music knowledge you passed down to me. Records are just a staple in my collection. Okay, we're kind of out of order here. That doesn't help. David Bowie's Scary Monsters. Some people consider this his last great record. I guess I can see that. But it's David Bowie. You get layers of synthesizers on this, kind of heavy. There's a few tracks in the middle that maybe didn't stand out to me, but it comes back really strong. Yeah, it's Bowie. It's inventive, it's fresh. Robert Fripp adds some really delicious guitar stuff on here. And Pete Townsend appears on this record. So yeah, Scary Monsters, David Bowie, must have. Okay, let's keep moving on. Let's keep moving on to a CD, Monochrome Set. Their first album, Strange Boutique. This is actually a 2-in-1 CD that I have, so it's their first 2 albums. I really like these 2-in-1 CDs. It keeps things simple. Yeah, this is labeled post-punk, but I get more of like a jangly indie pop, guitar pop vibe from it. I don't really get much post-punk from it. That's just me, maybe. I think maybe Johnny Marr was influenced by the Monochrome Set. Yeah, I can definitely hear that. I don't know, they kind of remind me of the Bongos or the Feelies, which I just talked about. Yeah, that early 80s kind of indie pop sound. So Monochrome Set, definitely worth checking out. It just keeps going. I mean, 1980, very impressive, very impressive. Teardrop Explodes with Kilimanjaro. Wonderful record, wonderful. This is a reissue. I don't know. Yeah, 2019, so a very recent reissue. So there's organ on this record, which kind of gives it a psychedelic feel, but it's also post-punk, kind of new wave. If you like Echo and the Bunnymen or the Chameleons, check them out. I'm a fan of Julian Cope. I've got several of his solo albums in my collection as well. Especially love his album Peggy Suicide, but earlier on he was in the Teardrop Explodes. Talking Heads with their 4th groundbreaking record. Everyone knows this record, right? Remain in Light. I got my reissue here. Yeah, this album, it deserves all the kudos for sure. It's like funk rock, has African rhythms, like it's polyrhythmic. Incredible album opener with The Great Curve. I love Cross-Eyed and Painless. And many of you, if you haven't heard this album, you're gonna recognize the song Once in a Lifetime. Definitely an eargasmic record. Just the ears really like it. Brian Eno produced that one as well, if that tells you anything. So this is the last one I'm going to be spending just a little bit of time on, but behind me, of course there's some glare, but you'll see some Japan records that I'm featuring. Well, I finally got one that I was missing, and this is Gentlemen Take Polaroids. I absolutely love the cover of this. So this is a gatefold, and it's an audiophile pressing. It's a new remaster, mastered at Abbey Road Studios at Half Speed Mastering. Just sounds so excellent. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I got this. So what keeps me coming back to Japan is just like the multi-dimensional quality to their music. Even if you don't have an audiophile pressing of their albums, their music is still gonna jump out of the speakers when you listen to them. Of course the phone is ringing. We'll wait a second. I've tried to describe their sound before, but it's classified as synth pop, art pop. It's part of the new romantic movement in the early 80s, very avant-garde. So yeah, I really am loving this audiophile pressing of this album. And I think several of you recommended this album to me, so I appreciate that suggestion or recommendation. A few more that I'm going to mention, I'm not going to spend too much time on because they are pretty mainstream and common records, but REO Speedwagon's High Infidelity. I don't listen to REO Speedwagon too much anymore just because I think I got my fill from classic rock radio. I've heard them so much. Doesn't mean I don't like them, I just don't revisit their albums too much anymore. But Don't Let Him Go is on here, Keep On Loving You, Take It On the Run. So lots of hits on this one. REO Speedwagon. Then I gotta mention Queen's The Game, of course. Another one, Bites the Dust, which one of the best bass lines ever. And then Crazy Little Thing Called Love. I think I've just always been in love with that song since I was a kid. From the first time I heard it, it was just like an instant love, an instant connection to that song. So yep, Queen's The Game. Again, I'm terrible about showing labels on this video. I apologize, you guys, but if you want to know anything about what pressing I have or whatnot, just leave me a little comment below. So stick around to the very end of this video, because after my talking face piece is done yapping away, I'm going to be showing pictures of albums that were also released in 1980 that I don't have in my personal collection, but maybe you have, maybe you like, maybe are pretty popular. So if I didn't mention something, just stick around, you might see a picture of that album. If not, I'm very curious to hear what your favorites from 1980 are. Stunning year for music. I love this era for music, you guys. I will probably continue this series, but my next video will be a vinyl finds video because I'm quite behind and I want to show some vinyl gifts that I've received from generous people in this community as well. I want to say thank you, and thanks to you as well for hanging in there. This is a long video, but as you can see, 1980 was rather impressive. Till next time, be well, spin lots of good tunes, enjoy life. Bye.